So what I'm doing is going off the edge of this spindle. With Steel Blade Woodworks, and you'll have your trimming plate here, and as you can see, this is recessed in, so this part faces out. Your screws go in here, and you're gonna, on a 3 horsepower, now this is a 3 horsepower, you're gonna go ahead and use these 3 holes here and these 3 here, which they align up right in here. So it's pretty straightforward. Put this on here, and we're going to go ahead and put some Loctite on this. This plate here will go mounted on the Z-axis. So we'll go get this put on. We're going to go ahead and fully tighten this down. So what I'm doing is going off the edge of this spindle here, and we're just squaring this plate up, and it seems pretty close right there. So and that's that. And these little pads here that come with, they're good to keep, to put some of this stuff on. So when you get to this portion of the install, the electronics box and the spindle box, that's in the main section of the installation. But when you get to go to this part, to mounting your tramming block and the spindle, you need to go to the tramming plate online, and down in the description it'll give you the installation instructions and what to do and how to get this mounted on the CNC, because you won't find it in the regular installation directions. You're gonna have to go out of those and get to this portion. So, and the next thing we'll do is go ahead and get this plate mounted on the CNC. And with that, you're going to use this part of the hardware kit. Now this hardware kit will bring you some 8mm, I think these are 16s, like what I needed. I couldn't use these for this because, one, there wasn't enough, and then I wouldn't have the proper hardware to mount this to the CNC. So this bag here, you can see the part number on it. It has both the hardware to mount this on there, and also the hardware that if you didn't use the spindle, this other bag is to mount this tramming plate to this plate, and then the smaller screws that you'll see in here are to mount the, if the spindle was off, right here on the other side is where you would put your bracket for your regular router, whether you're going to use a DeWalt or Bosch, whatever you decide to use. But I'm going with on this plate here. You'll see that you have 2 pins, and these pins are to align once you put it on the Z-axis, which I'll show you in a minute. These are going to face out, and these are where your bolts or your screws that are in your hardware package are going to go through, and you can go ahead and get those set up now. Go ahead and Put it through. And remember, flat part goes toward the plate. From this edge, so it's 96 millimeters or 3 3/4 of an inch to the base of this. So what we're going to do here, and you have these dowels. These dowels go in this channel. So you orientate these rolling T-nuts up. And these need to face up as well. So they need to, they're not to be exposed on the bottom. Let me get these lined up. Okay. And the instructions call that when you're going to tighten this, once you get this distance set from this edge to this edge, you push this way, and what that does is let your dowels align this square to this Z-axis, okay? So we're going to get this kind of just snug so it'll stay in place, get it close. And we'll go ahead and measure. So I got it pulled over. I'm going to go ahead and tighten these down. And this thing's pretty aligned. It's good to get you one of these if you can. You're going to end up using this portion of this quite a bit. Simple. I mean, we're right on it. So we're going to go ahead and lock this in. The next step now is just to bring the spindle, set it on here, and it takes 4 bolts here. Do a little overview of this spindle mount onto the Z-axis. This bolt or screw, whatever you want to call it, this is an M8 by 35 millimeter. It goes inside this eccentric nut, which makes this bolt to have to be a little bit longer than these ones. Okay, these are 30 millimeter. So when you're putting this together, so there's 4 bolts that hold this on. On the back side here is a shoulder bolt, and it's completely different than any of the other 3. And the instructions specifically put that out, but don't make the mistake that I did and did not pay attention. I just saw 30 millimeter. Well, I took it for granted that these were all 30 millimeter, and they're not. This one is actually a little longer. And you'll know right away if you put this in here, it's going to bottom out back here. It won't fully tighten. So anyhow, we're going to move on. We're going to get the sensors installed, and I'll touch on that. The installation of the proximity sensors. And this one has 3, and then of course you have your Z-axis and gantry, those sensors that install up to on the gantry and and on your Z-axis. So all this, including these cables here that you see, will come in that bag. Okay. So all these sensors here are the same, and you'll have a little hardware bag. It wasn't labeled other than all of this hardware and sensors are inside of this bigger bag, and they're all located in that. Just make sure that, of course, this portion of it, your cabling goes on this side. On this particular one, it's going to face this way so you can run your cabling back. But of course, here's your sensor portion that'll actually sense the metal stopper on your stop up front on the machine. So these are pretty straightforward here. We're just going to go ahead and put a little bit of never seize on them. I don't want to Loctite those in. So we'll get these up in here. And that's that. And you just go on and do the same thing throughout the rest of the machine. There's 3 of these.